Welcome to the Salty Seekers, where you can hang out with friends and talk about all areas of spirituality and the metaphysical, while knowing you don't have to be pure love and light to do it. Hello, and welcome back to Salty Seekers. I'm glad you stuck with us. Jay, so today we are talking about, so you've decided to stop ignoring the universe's hints. Now what?
Oh, this is going to be a fun topic because everybody that's come down this path had to do it. Yep.
Everybody had to do it.
Unless you're one of those spectacular people that were just born, everything switched on.
I won't say that I stopped ignoring hints. I would say that I just stopped fighting. I was still very much in the church. I was still very much in the church. And so I had to just like lay down the fight and go and surrender and say, okay, I'm willing for you guys to show me what you got. And please, God, don't strike me down in the middle of this. Like, if I'm doing something wrong, stop me. But that never happened for me. So anyways, what kind of hints did you get? Were you getting signs?
I mean, it was all little subtle things. Like at the time, I would think it's paranormal activity because there were things moving, or I would hear a voice, or I'd see a light, and I would just.
So that would freak me out.
Yeah, you watch too many scary movies, and like maybe I'm just imagining it. Maybe but at a certain point, it's like, okay, there's more here than meets the eye because you're getting too many of these. The synchronicities, the weird stuff that kind of frightens you, and so you start asking questions. I mean, of course, like you said, come from the church or a very religious background, no one wants to talk about this. It's all hush hush because there is no in betweens. There is no shades of gray. It's either God or the devil, and
Right.
they don't want to talk about it. So for me, I had to go on the internet. I had to look for books, YouTube videos, and start trying to see, are there other people out here experiencing the same things? And that's how I found you.
What time frame was that? Like, it wasn't that long ago, was it? A couple years?
For me, it was 2020. Now, the experiences, whole life, is just as far back as I can remember. I've been just little things here and there, little things here and there. And, but yeah, 2020, I was like, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. And, my big fear at the time was, and here it is if I open this door, it's going to be closed because, some of the things were frightening at the time.
Right. Yeah. Is there a point too far? Like, that can be scary. The unknown is scary, period. And so, yeah, I get that. Now, when I started going through this process, I would say it started in like 2012. The timeline's kind of weird for me because I have memories from when everything's first starting. Like, they all seem at the same time to me, except one happened in one house I lived in and one happened in another house. So I know they're at different time periods. And I'm like, what gap in time am I missing here? But I'm thinking it started around 2012. And I can remember that like there wasn't a whole lot on YouTube even. I had to go find people's blogs and do a lot of reading that way. And so that's how I started. But that was scary. It was scary for me for different reasons than it was scary for you. It was scary for me. I was already in it because my kids were the first ones that had the experiences and they were having scary experiences. And so whether it was in their heads, which it couldn't because they were both seeing the same things, but like, even though I wasn't receiving the signs, I wasn't going through the things, my kids were, and that's even more intense because you just want to protect them. And I was just like, I'm going to kick some spirit ass. Like, we need to stop this shit. And so I kind of dove in. And as I was diving for them, I was just like, oh my God, this stuff's real, I think. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, but I can't, can I? Because that's like a whole betrayal. It opened up all this Pandora's box of layers of like
emotions and guilt and
fear of like, what is literally every person in my life going to say? Every person in my life that I knew was a raging Christian and not a light, fluffy, like only on Sundays Christian, but like 3-4 times a week deep Baptist Christian, and they were just like, I have to say, my best friend Allison, I'm trying to think, actually, I was going to say Allison was the most accepting, but I actually don't, I can't remember getting the flack that I expected from any of them.
Yeah.
They
They're
probably,
often in our head. Yeah.
yeah, I think they talked a lot behind my back. My
Well,
family was probably like, girl, I mean, did you hear that?
that's the saying. It's what other people think of you is none of your business.
Right.
And if you can live by that, it'll works
Yeah.
wonders.
And people probably don't think about you as much as you think they do. You know, they,
It's all imaginary conversations mostly.
yeah. So I've learned to give people credit, give people the benefit of the doubt. If they let you down and they say something shitty, then you can be like, yeah, I mean, that was shitty. But they, they pleasantly surprised me, I have to say. There came a point where I just had to say, look, I give up I give up the fight. Like, I'm willing. You guys have shown me enough, talking about spirit. You guys have shown me enough that I'm willing to explore this. And so I'm just going to have to lay down every single thing that I ever believed and start from scratch. I'm no longer accepting beliefs that were handed to me and told me, here, you're going to believe this now. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to explore all the options, and I'm going to keep what resonates and proves itself as truth to me and build my own belief system. And that was so important. And it wasn't easy, but it was important. So I know you didn't come from a very religious background, did you?
There was in my family, but I've always kind of just been my own. I don't know. I would go to church with them, but it was never as important to me. And disclaimer, if that's your truth, live
Yeah,
it, love it. I'm not judging you. Don't,
that's the thing. Yeah, it's like, and as I started going down this path, and I was asking my guides all these questions through the pendulum and everything, and I'm just like, so is Christianity wrong then or bad? And they're like, no, nothing's wrong or
there's a lot of
bad.
good aspects to it.
Sure. And they're like, whatever brings you closer to the divine in that
Mhm.
moment is the right path for you, is what I was told. And if in that moment, and for many years of my life, that was Christianity, that was the right path for me at that moment. But I then had a different path, a fork in the road, and it was time to go down there. You can only ignore the signs and the synchronicities that Spirit's sending you for so long. And if you look back on life, you usually see that those signs were coming for quite a while before you even started to notice them or like pay that much attention.
We had that conversation the other day, and I likened it to a river's current. A lot
Right.
of the times you're just floating with it, and there's subtle hints and there's subtle hints. And sometimes we get stubborn and we try to paddle to this one point on the shore because we think we should be there. But if you keep staying there, the current will get stronger until it moves you
Mm-hmm.
where you need to be. And sometimes that can be unpleasant. Your stubbornness gets in the way.
And your ego.
Hmm.
What are people going to think of me? Or
Hmm.
your ego's like, why are you even considering this? That's so stupid. That's so woo woo. Like people are going to think you're crazy. And admittedly, like half the time, if I didn't have the experiences that I've had, where like I cannot deny the experiences I've had, if that weren't the case and I was listening to me talk, I would think I was crazy too, because I believe some pretty out there shit half the time. And, I'm talking about how the aliens come to visit me and, I'm talking about this stuff and I believe it. I've experienced it and I believe it. And you can argue doctrine. I always say this, you can argue doctrine with me till you're blue in the face, but you cannot argue firsthand experience. And I know what I know. But I can admit that, like, from the outside looking in, it looks a little crazy.
It does. And for someone just now accepting it, or okay, now what? That can be off
Now
putting.
what?
So when you first come in here and you watch a video like the blue aliens were with me last night, and I'm like
Yeah.
real watching this first time, like the blue what? And you know, it takes time,
Right.
and we've had these conversations. So you know, part of what I experience is clairaudience, and so for me, it was, am I schizophrenic? Because I'm hearing these voices that aren't
Yeah.
mine, and there's never any context. But over time, I've accepted what they are. It's, you know, part of it. I'm hearing broad everything. Sometimes it's more pointed to me, and it's never, for the most part, it's never anything. Some people might be afraid of this, so it's never anything like go hurt yourself, you know, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it's not
It's always just
harmful.
randomness. Like I'll hear Dr. Erickson, or I'll hear he was at the beach, and you're like, who was at the beach? Like one morning I woke up and I just heard clear as day someone go, it's my anniversary, and I'm like, congratulations, I guess. There's no context to it for me at where I am in my development, where I am with what gifts I do have.
Yeah.
I've accepted they're there. And one of the things is I've had to let go of control. That used to drive me nuts. I got to understand what they're saying. It's like, no, I don't.
Hmm.
I'm happy that I get to experience it. Maybe one day I'll have more understanding. I'm happy where I'm at. I'm hoping to continue to go forward. So when you first get into this, don't be off put. Don't be scared in the sense of like, am I going crazy? There's people out here that you can talk to. Veronica,
Hmm.
great. Watch her videos. Lots of good stuff. It'll help you like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one experiencing this.
Yeah.
Um, but everybody's unique too. Your path is your path. So you'll have your own little experiences. And so, you know,
The
embrace
thing,
it. Welcome.
yeah, the thing is that when we're all taken on kind of this hero's journey where you have this arc of like the discovery and maybe a crisis that sends you there, and then finally you're like resigned to the fact that like this is your new reality. What can I do with it to make my life better? How can I accept this and whatnot? And you know that you're in the flow and you're in alignment when resistance starts to fall away and you just surrender. And so then it's the now what? And part of what you said just now is really important. Now you need to find a support system, you need to find resources, you need to start learning. And the first important thing is that you need to stop fighting, you need to stop resisting, and maybe even ask the universe, okay, I'm here, now what? And then pay attention to the signs and synchronicities that are coming to you and that are going to be shown to you. You might come across a YouTube channel. You might come across a book. You might come across somebody talking in the cafeteria at work about this kind of stuff. And, you realize that like maybe there's someone you could talk to. Um, you start, I kind of hate the word tribe right now. Like it's been so played
Community.
out. It just becomes so cliche, but there's still truth in that. Like you need to find and establish your little tribe, your little support system, even if it means you have to go online. And with that being said, that's why I created Club Shift. If you want more information on that, you can go to wholenessshift.com and look at the information for Club Shift. In a nutshell, it's just a little support community. We meet online twice a month. We have a live Zoom call twice a month, and you can bounce questions off of each other. You can learn from one another. You can ask questions. You can hear what other people are going through. And we have a Facebook group you can join if you like. And you don't have to participate. You can just watch the replays if you want. We have a lot of people that do that. But if you don't have anyone, find it where you can find it. Seriously, there's support out there for you. And that's so important.
Just to know you're not alone, and, you
Yeah.
know, people to talk to.
Because when I started, I was alone. I was all alone. I sound like Lydia from Beetlejuice. I'm just like, I was alone, utterly
What would she say? I'm
alone,
totally and utterly alone.
utterly alone. No, I'm not dramatic. Am I the drama? But I didn't have anybody. And that's why that's one of the whole reasons I started the wholeness shift to begin with, is like I had amassed all of this information and I had figured some things out, and I just wanted to share with other people going through the same thing and say, look, you don't have to be alone. Here's what I've learned. And that's the whole reason I started it, because you have to find a support system.
Mm-hmm. Don't be discouraged. You know, don't. you watch some of the videos or the, guided meditations or whatnot, and you're in there like, they're talking about you can see this or see that, and you're not getting that. Don't be discouraged. We all start somewhere.
We all start somewhere. What?
And not all of us have the same gifts either.
No. And we're going to be talking about that in another upcoming episode pretty soon, where we basically talk about all that, because it's easy to compare yourself and to get down on yourself with that. Like, well, why don't I have that? Like, he's jealous of me. Not jealous. Jealous is the wrong word. He's
Totally jealous. So
totally
jealous.
jealous. You know you're jealous. He's envious of me and my clairsentience because I can feel so clearly. But I'm envious of him and the fact that he can see and hear things so much more clearly than me. And I'm like, that would be so cool. And, but we all have what we're supposed to have. We all have everything, I believe, but it's just a matter to what degree we're able to develop it, because everybody has different contracts in this life. But anyways, it's easy to compare yourself. Don't get in that trap.
Here's a good mantra for you at that point. I am who I am, and that is enough.
How did I know? Look, we are synced
It's
up,
perfect.
brother.
Just when you feel discouraged, remember that. You're enough.
Yeah, you're enough. I'm enough, you're enough.
Here's the question. Okay, so they're here, and like, I think I'm ready to now what? But I'm not sure these are the signs. Are these the signs? So what signs did you start getting that made you go, okay? Well, I know you talked about your daughters, but were there any personal signs that you got that you're like, you were seeing the synchronicities, or you were seeing things moving around, or what was it that outside of your daughters that you may have started noticing that got your attention?
Well, like I said earlier, I didn't get a whole lot of signs. It was just more like I was diving into this whole experience, and I started talking to spirit through my pendulum to try to get information to help my daughters. However, because I'm a natural born skeptic, I'm so skeptical about everything. I'm like, prove it. And so when I started asking questions, like, okay, so if this is real, that's how I always started. If this is real, tell me something that I was taught growing up or in the church that's not true. And they immediately said that reincarnation is not real. And I was like, right. Okay, so you're saying that I've lived before. Okay. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, and how can you prove that? And I remember he said, pay attention to your dreams tonight. We'll show you. And I did make a video about this. I will try to remember to link to it in the show notes. If you're interested in watching this, I go in depth about it. It was probably one of the most formative experiences of my life, because it really did change my belief system in that moment. I went to sleep that night, and I had a dream about, it was obviously set in the 1920s to me, very posh. I was walking, it almost makes me want to cry. I was walking with a group of ladies who were very beautiful, and they were dressed exquisitely in 1920s clothing. They had on these cloche hats, Mary Jane pumps, fur-lined coats, and we were walking through what looked like the lobby of a hotel, a very posh hotel. We were going down this corridor, marble floors, and there was a butler, what looked like a butler, standing in front of us with gloves on, and he was just like, this way, ladies, and smiled at us. And I looked to the lady beside me, and she smiled at me. She was so beautiful, and she had on red lipstick, and I can just see her face. And when I looked back, we were in front of this window. I could see into a dining room, and inside the dining room, it looked like a gazebo. And then I woke up, and I remember going, what is that? I ran to my pendulum, because it was more than a dream. It was like a memory, like it was so real. I ran to my pendulum. I asked my guides, what was that? And he responded, that was you tromping through the Savoy. And I'm like, what is the Savoy? Because I didn't even know at that time. And he's like, look it up. So I went on Google and I looked up the Savoy, and there it was, all the pictures. I think the wallpaper was different, but other than that, everything was the same. The floors were the same. This gazebo in the dining room was the same. And I'm like, oh my God, I was just there. Not even that, like, I saw a picture, I was there. And I'm like, who was that? And he's like, that was you in London. in the 1920s. And I proceeded to have a series of dreams of this woman. I've probably had at least a dozen, probably more at this point, of different parts of her life, different people about her life. And I eventually found out who she was. And she was a London socialite who lived there at that time. And so that was one of the most powerful things. The second thing that happened very shortly after that, I was teetering and toying with the idea of should I move home from Arizona to Ohio? And I kept asking if it was in my best interest and being told yes. And I'm like, maybe I'll ask again tomorrow. I'm not sure. And finally, something happened in my relationship at the time that was like the decision maker, like, I'm going. And so I got on my pendulum and I was like, you're sure it's really the best timing for me? And he's like, yes, because my lease was getting ready to be up. And so I just said, all right, well, you guys know I don't have the money in the bank to move across country right now. So if you want this to happen in the next 6 weeks, you're going to need to send me the money. I need $10,000 and somebody to drive my car across country because I ain't driving. And you wouldn't believe the way the money just started rolling in from all
So
kinds
it
of
worked.
places.
I'm
Huh?
asking for a friend. Did that work? Because I need to try that out.
It worked. And and I was like, I need an apartment and a job too. I need an apartment, a job, someone to drive my car, and $10,000 to pay for like down payments, security deposit, blah, blah, blah. And so, anyways, work is like, we have a special project. If you're willing to volunteer for 1 month, we're going to give you an extra like $3,000. Like, here. And I got more back on my tax refund than I usually do. I got a letter in the mail from my alma mater saying, hey, we found out that we still owe you money from like a student loan thing we didn't refund you. Here's $2,000. Just checks and money started coming in. And by the time it was time to go, I had a job, a place to go. I had $10,000 to move home almost to the penny. And my brother, who has since passed away, rest in peace, but at the time he was a truck driver. And he had called like, hey, what are you doing? I haven't talked to you in forever. And I'm like, I'm getting ready to move home. And he's like, let me come to Phoenix and drive your car back for you. I'll drive the U-Haul and tow your car. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, you guys can fly home. I'll come drive your U-Haul and tow your car. And he did. So it's like the things that I asked for, boom. And so after that,
Universe, I've
they
seen
had my
what you've done for
trust.
Veronica.
Yeah.
I'd like a little bit of that too.
Yeah. After that, they had my trust. And I was just like, all right, I'm open and willing to see what you guys have to say. I'm willing to learn. I can't guarantee I won't back out at any minute and go, mm-mm, but I'm open. And so I said, if you could tell me anything to do right now to start this journey, what would it be? And he said, start meditating. It's going to change your life. And so that day I started meditating and it changed my life. So that would be my next bit of advice. If you're on this journey and you're like, now what? Start meditating 15 minutes a day or more if you want, but 15 minutes a day. Just find a video on YouTube, start listening to it. I have plenty of them on my channel if you don't know where to look. That's where I would start. How long ago did you start meditating?
Long after 2020, I started looking into it. I had a coworker that was telling me about her meditations and the things she was seeing in it, and I'm like, kind of like looking skeptical. You're looking from the outside, going, "What? You saw what?" I want to experience that too. So if you're starting out meditation, don't set expectations. Just show up and
Mm-mm.
try. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, for me, there's like this really fine line between right where you need to be and sleep. Sometimes I get to right where I need to be, and that's where the cool stuff. You'll experience cool stuff. But a lot of times, boy, I overshoot and I wake up because I hear myself snoring, or I thump my head on the headboard, or something like that happens. So don't get mad at
Yeah.
yourself. Give
Or
yourself grace.
you just sit there with monkey brain, like your
Yeah,
thoughts are
it's just
going,
nonstop.
mm-hmm. And that's okay too. It's a meditation practice
Mhm.
for a reason. It takes practice and it takes a while to get your brain to not be so brainy. and not be jumping all over the place, you're never going to totally stop the thoughts, ever. Brains are made to have thoughts. It's just the way it is. But like you said, sometimes you hit that magic sweet spot and your brain waves shift just right and you go deep and like you don't even know until the bell rings on the other side and you're like, whoa, I
Yeah.
was gone.
For me, sometimes, and this could be a whole nother episode topic, but sometimes when I get there, I call it popped out because I'll experience something that either excites me or startles me, and I back away. Like,
Usually my head bobs. And because I don't lay down when I'm meditating, it just doesn't work for me. But normally I'll do like either like this because I'm not conscious enough to hold my head up. And so my head will bob and it just pulls me right out of it.
I didn't have any good experiences with money and moving that got me going. So yeah, I kind of want that experience now.
I want it again too. I mean, I'm not going anywhere, but you know, you can prove your reality to me again. Send me some more.
For me, it was more of see a shadow I can't explain, or
Oh, see, F that. I would rather have the money.
stuff moving that shouldn't be moving. Like where I was living at the time, I had an old laundry, like aluminum rack stand above my computer, and I had my printer and all that stuff on it. And I was playing on the computer, and the rack itself just started doing this number, in which, you might go, oh, that's creepy. You might not. There's a fault nearby. It does go off a lot, real low, 1 to 4s. 4's rare, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't think terribly too much about it until it abruptly stopped. And I was like, oh, that goes against physics. It should have slowly teetered out. It just
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
goes,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of those, like, I'm leaving the house.
Yeah.
So it was, a series of things of that nature. For me, it's hearing noises, seeing lights, the synchronicity of numbers or things. And you just finally, I was like, all right, enough. What's going on here? Because,
Right.
growing up or even as a young adult, I remember one time I was in El Paso at the time, and the girlfriend I had then, she wanted to go to a psychic fair. And so, I just went with her. And every booth I'd go to, they were like, you can see stuff, can't you? You're one of us. I'm like, I'm just here because she told me to be here. And I would get that. And I would get that a lot from anytime I go near psychic fairs or that kind of thing. And I just kind of over one head over the other and or just let it go. So at a certain point, I finally decided, let me go down this path. Let me see what's going on because I'm seeing enough weird stuff. I hear enough weird stuff. I feel things occasionally, not like you, but occasionally. Um, or you'll get knowings of things and you don't know how you knew that. And so I was like, all right, let me go down
Yes.
this rabbit hole. What's happening here? Let me understand me better. Let me understand what's going on. And then you get into the whole rabbit hole of, am I crazy? What are the people around me going to think?
So yeah, some people might think you're crazy. I mean, I remember my one of my best friends, Allison, she's been my best friend since I was 12. She had come into town for something and she was like, we're going to go get something to eat and talk. Like, what's going on with you? And I was like, nothing's going on. I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, what's going on with you? We ended up sitting in Steak and Shake, the restaurant, for 8 hours that night till like 4 in the morning. And I just told her everything. Basically, I'm a heathen and I've left the church. I expected her to think I'm crazy, and I think she does, but she's much more gracious than that. And I was like, so do you believe any of this? And she's like, I believe you believe it. But that's about the harshest thing anyone ever said to me. Like in this situation, they all were very gracious. Like I said earlier, they probably talked about me behind my back, but to my face, they just allowed me and gave me the grace to explore. But that's part of the what's next. Like, what are you going to do? You have to be okay with knowing that not everybody is going to agree with you. Not everybody's going to believe like your new beliefs look. And you have to decide that that's okay with you. You have to have the courage to step out on this hero's journey, if you will, on this new path. And you have to allow other people to believe what they believe. And you have to allow yourself to discover your new beliefs and be okay that they're not okay.
Sometimes you're just going to outgrow people, much like my belt after Thanksgiving. It happens.
And that is we have another episode coming up about that too, about the the great falling away, I call it, because when you go on this path, you're probably going to lose some relationships, or you're going to be called to new things. You're going to be called to new jobs or new locations or new friend groups, new relationships.
It
You
won't
just have
all
to
be
decide what you're
rainbows.
wanting. Yeah, it won't all be rainbows. But you were just telling me this a couple hours ago. You said that, like, what other people think of you is none of your business. And you have to really cling on to that motto. Like, they can think what they want. It's none of my
It's not
business what they
easy,
think.
but if you can learn to live by it,
Mm-hmm. It's not easy.
especially if it's someone that you valued their
Mm-hmm.
opinion most of your life, it's
Yeah.
hard.
Or someone that, even if you think they're a total asshole, but you still love them, you know, you
That's how she
love them,
describes
but
me.
like, yeah, I'm like, God, he's such an asshole. Out of the two of us, I think I'm the bigger asshole here, honestly.
No, no, I wouldn't say that.
I think we take turns. I think that we each have our specialties. Like, you might be more of an asshole in this area, but I am in this area. I think we have our specialties, like I said. Yeah, I can remember before I decided to move back to Ohio, my my fiance at the time, his name is Paul, and when this first started, Paul was curious. But Paul is a notorious shut down man. He's just like, shut off emotions, shut off heart, shut up. And I remember he wanted to use my pendulum one time. He's like, show me what this is all about. Let me do it. And for me, I pick it up and it's just like, Paul picked it up and it just stone straight. He's like, it doesn't work. It's broken. I'm like,
Needs
maybe
batteries.
it's just, I was like, try to will it to move, or like ask it to move, or ask your guides to help it to move. He's like, I don't have guides. I'm like, you have guides. He's like, fine, help me make it move. And it just sat there. And I'm thinking, it's a reflection of your cold heart, your dead soul. I didn't say that to him though. But anyway, so at the beginning, he was curious. But over a course of months before I was ready to move home, that had shifted. And I don't know if he was bitter because he couldn't make the pendulum move and he wanted to play too. And so he was just like, I'm taking my toys home. Or if he was just, I don't know, he was just mean. He was just kind of a dick. And I remember saying something at one point. I don't even know what it was. It was something totally benign, just everyday life. And he was like, who told you that? Your spirit guide. And I just looked at him. I was like, why'd you say it like that? He's like, which? I just started laughing. I was like,
It's got a
you're
little
just,
bit of that. Not like that though.
no.
When I get that side criticism, it's usually tell your friends to stop. My significant other at that particular moment, she was in the
Yeah.
shower and there was a toy in there that required a hard click. And I wouldn't, I think it was in the front of the house. And she came out screaming at me, did you do that? And I'm like, did I do what? It had turned on and the motor was running. And so I said, I've been up here. I don't know what you're talking about. She goes, tell your friends to stop. And storms off. I'm like,
And you were looking at them like, wink.
I'm like they don't listen to me. I'm not in
Yeah.
charge of anything. I don't know what to tell you.
They're your friends too. Talk to them.
Or like that
Get
they
in, the
thought it was
water's warm.
hilarious. Beats me.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I got out of there. I'm glad you got out of yours, honestly, but I'm glad I got out of mine because it was just not good for me.
Hopefully the friends are still doing stuff.
Oh my gosh. But it's the greatest journey you're ever going to go on if you do give in and like surrender and start paying attention to the synchronicities. Oh, I have another example. This isn't something that convinced me to believe, but you know what? Every time something like this happens, the signs, it just validates me and it makes my faith stronger. But I talked about this in one of my videos. So if you're a longtime viewer of my channel, you may have seen it. But I talked about how I used to work at Cleveland Clinic main campus. And if you've been there, you know just how colossal this place is. It's like, my God, how many square blocks is it? It's like, I don't know, 20 or 30 square blocks. It has its own zip code. It's just a big hospital. It's huge. And lots of buildings, lots of ways to get places. And I would develop my favorite ways to get places. Like I found like path of least resistance. This is the absolute shortest way to get somewhere because, I'm lazy. So like, give me the shortest path and I'm going. And anyways, this one day I'm walking through somewhere I normally go to someplace I normally go. And I keep getting these promptings. Like my gut is just telling me, go this other way. I'm like, that's going to add like 10 minutes to my walk. That is so out of the way. Go that way, go that way, go that way. And so I was like, okay, I'm going that way. And I gave in and I did it. And as I walked down here and I turned this corner into this one lobby, if you don't work in the hospital, you probably don't know what a liaison is, but when you are trying to discharge patients to a rehab or a nursing home or something like that, those rehabs and nursing homes have their employees that come as an intermediary to the hospital, work with me, they help arrange it, blah, blah, blah. They help seal the deal. They're kind of like the agents, if you will. But so there was a group of liaisons I normally work with sitting there in this lobby, and one of them, my friend Brandy, she was sitting there crying, and I walked in and walked over to her, and she jumped out of her chair and grabbed me, and she's like, oh my God, thank God you're here. I was just praying, God, she's the one person who can give me some perspective today. I needed to see you. I wasn't going to intrude on your day, but I knew God wouldn't let me down and he was going to send you to me. And I was like, so you're the reason I just had to go for a longer walk. They were making me go that way so I could see her. It turns out that he was the father of her son. They hadn't been together in a while, but she had loved him for decades, and he had just died, and she was trying to she had questions about life after death, and like, where did he go, and is he okay, and like all of those things. She was grieving, and so I sat there and comforted her and talked to her and shared what knowledge I had with her. And I think I made a difference, but if I had ignored that prompting, it never would have happened. And so you just have to start paying attention to your intuition and to what promptings you get. Like if your gut's telling you, take a left at this light on the way home, and you're like, no, I normally go straight, and it's like, take a left. There might be a reason for that. You might get in an accident. You might come across someone that needs your help. You don't know. So follow the promptings.
So I need to go get some pizza and ice cream.
Yeah, I need to not listen to my inner big girl. I need to listen to Spirit. Spirit's
I'm
like,
saying
drink
that
more
Spirit's
water.
just like, pizza.
Yeah, Spirit's telling me drink more water, and my inner big girl's like, order some ice cream to be delivered.
That's right.
Walmart closes.
You gotta follow your bliss.
Follow your bliss to a point. Yeah, I agree with that.
To
But
diabetes.
Start getting practiced at learning the difference between promptings from Spirit and synchronicities from Spirit and things like that versus your own ego versus your personality that's just like, we want Flamin' Hot Cheetos. That can be a whole
some of
other
those are
show
really
too.
delicious promptings.
This is all I'm saying.
What about journaling?
Journaling, yeah, that's a very important one. I would say start journaling your dreams for sure. That's important. Keep a notepad and a pen by your bed. Wake up and write down everything. And in the middle of the night, you don't want to wake up so far that you give yourself trouble going back to sleep. You still want to keep the sleep on you, if you know what I mean. That's what I call it anyways. But I find that those dreams you have through the middle of the night, if you don't write down something that will jog your memory, just a couple of keywords or something like cat, purple, jumpsuit, clown mask. I don't know, just random keywords from your dream that'll jog your memory. When you wake up, it's going to be gone. So you have to write down whatever. But often, if
Oh,
your guides speak to you through the symbolism in your dreams, and so if you start paying attention to what's being said, you can see a lot of what your spirit guides are trying to tell you.
I've often found, like, when you wake up in the middle of the night, if you can meditate right then, you're already right there. It's you're just right at that line between sleep and the good spot. Like last night, I popped out. I woke up and I just sat there and like, guides, are you there? And started hearing stuff immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're almost right at the perfect spot right before sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that when I wake up in the middle of the night in that hypnagogic state where, the veil is thin, you kind of have a foot in both worlds, that my gifts are so much stronger. I can communicate with my guides way more. Like, I feel the energy like it's on steroids, and I'll like my whole body will be buzzing, like I'm ready to pop out of my body, just do 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 do. And sometimes I can see things, oftentimes in my third eye. Like, my third eye is so wide awake, and I can sometimes they'll show me little movies, sometimes they're little cartoons. I think they're just trying to entertain me. Um, Sometimes I can see sacred geometry happening there, floating around. A lot of times, if I'm getting some kind of a download, I can see it kind of looks like the Matrix with all the numbers scrolling. It'll look like that. It'll look like numbers and symbols, just like, and I'm just like, oh, I must be getting a download. And like, I don't experience any of that stuff like that during the day. It's only if it's right when I wake up and I had been in a deep, deep sleep with my brain waves really shifted.
I'm like last night when I woke up, I sat there and I kind of propped up a little bit and closed my eyes, and I was, asking questions, and I was starting to get responses more than I normally would. It's like, oh, this is great. And, we can talk about the responses later because there's weird questions and I was getting weird answers, but I'm like, okay, interesting. One of my favorite ones, though, is I woke up. Sometimes you get those sharp pains, burning pains, hashtag getting older. And I was like, my left foot's hurting. You just hear a voice. I got it. And then the pain subsides. It's not the first time I've encountered that, but it's like, that's nice.
Nice.
You do anything about my lower back? That sucks too.
That sounds like me. I'm forever like, oh my God, can you guys help me with this healing? I need this healing. Oh my gosh. This hurts, that hurts. I'll be like Archangel Raphael. Can you please help the third toe on my left foot? Like, that's really hurting today. I get this while you're at it. Like, this collarbone is like, anywhere you can say I'm in pain. Why don't we just do that? Yeah. So I would say that one of the next things that you have to do that covers a lot of what we already said, I think, is, I mean, really, my guides, what they had told me is get kinetic. You have to get the energy moving. You have to get moving. An object in motion stays in motion. So start taking action, whether that's the meditation, whether that is, getting Reiki done on you to help start moving some energy, whether that is reading and learning or watching YouTube videos, whatever it may be, the meditation, the dream journals. Ask your guides for help with opening up your gifts and developing your gifts and paying attention to the promptings. All of those things fall under the category of taking action. And really, that's what it's about.
You looked at it
And
as like something that brings you joy or bliss. Like you just get lost in it because
yeah,
I'm out doing this and my head's finally clear. I'm in the moment.
yes,
Could you look at it like that?
yeah, exactly. When you first start, it's all going to seem so much fun. Once you start coming alive to this stuff and waking up, that's just a natural consequence of the awakening process. It's 555. Um, you're going to start noticing angel numbers. You're going to start getting fascinated with every single level and topic and area. You're going to be like, I want to learn about numerology and astrology, and I want to learn about palmistry and tarot and pendulums, and I want to get a reading from that person and that person and that person. You're going to spend a lot of money. You're going to be going down 1,000 rabbit holes. And just know that that's normal. You don't have to do those things. That's not a prerequisite, but it does tend to seem to be normal. You're not abnormal if that happens. That will calm down eventually. This isn't going to financially devastate
So,
you. It will calm down, and you can get a lot of the stuff on Temu these days. You know, I mean, you could get it cheap, but just know that that's normal. But take action, and you're probably going to meet some resistance. You're going to come up against some roadblocks. You're going to get people who disagree with you. You're going to, I don't, that's all just the dragon guarding the gold, is what I call it. It's everything that you want, and only you can decide what you want out of this, whether that's more peace, better sleep at night, a belief system that you can really believe in, whether that's developing your spiritual gifts, whatever it is that you want out of this is like a big pile of gold sitting in this cave, and there's a big dragon guarding it. And the dragon's going to fight you. It doesn't just let anybody in there. It's like, how bad do you really want this? That's what it's really about. How bad do you really want this gold? Are you going to stay the course? Prove it. So don't get discouraged if you come across some dragons guarding the gold. Just keep going. Just keep going.
frustration, like when you first start, and I know when I first started, the frustration of you try to do one of the guided meditations and the stuff they're saying, and they're like, okay, now you should be able to see this and this. I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. And don't get frustrated with yourself. Be open to it.
Mm-mm.
Be forgiving. Be loving. I mean, we're all in different places in our path.
Yeah. And just know that not everything's cut out for you.
Mhm.
Like, I used to get so discouraged because, like, everybody's like, guided meditations, that's where it's at. Girl, I hate guided meditations. I can't stand them. I stink at them, first of all. I don't get it. I'm not good at it. I have ADHD way too bad. I go off on some tangent halfway through what they're saying, and then I don't know. I'm like, I'm lost in the woods. Well, you left me here, and you're in a cave somewhere. I don't know how to get there. and then, I'm too in my head about details. If they're like, you come across a door, it's a green door. And I'm in my head, I'm like, well, what shade of green are we talking? Celadon or hunter green or olive? Like, there's a lot of options. They're already down a cave meeting a guide, and I'm still on like, what color is the door? What am I supposed to imagine? And yeah,
So find what works for you.
I learned quickly. Well, I'm also a Capricorn, so I don't, and a firstborn kid. So like, I want to do things right. I follow the rules. And so if they say, picture this green door, I'm like, spell it out for me. Let me know what I'm supposed to imagine. I learned very quickly that guided meditations are not for me. They may be for other people, but they are not my thing. And as much as I like and enjoy getting a tarot reading, reading tarot is not for me. I cannot retain that information. I'm not good at it. I could see the same card 1,000 times and I will still have to look up what that card means. Like that's not the thing that's for me. And that's okay. There are a lot of people out there that it is for them. So if I ever want a tarot reading, I go to them. Don't be afraid to try everything though, because something that you had no idea you were going to like is going to become your thing.
Yeah. And that
What
can
did
get
you find as
expensive
your thing?
too. Going through all the tarot cards, I bought so many just because of the artwork. It's like, oh, I love this
I
artwork.
still do.
I love that artwork. I got stacks of these things.
Yes, and I still do, even though I know I'm not going to read them, but like twice a year,
Um,
because they're pretty and they're
mhm.
fun to hold and the pictures are nice. I like the glossy ones though. Like, I need glossy and like pretty pictures. Yeah, I know. I still do.
I've gotten better at not buying them. Kind of like I've gotten better about not going out and buying readings from a medium, a psychic. It's a lot of it will be very similar. This is just my opinion. I get
Yeah.
similar readings, and it just more or less. says what I want to. I feel like I'm hearing what I want to hear, but it doesn't get me any closer because at the end of the day, I need to do my own work.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I want to say about that, when you brought that up, I was like, oh, yeah, I need to say this. You have to be careful about who you're getting a reading from. Never, ever, 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 ever take everything that you hear as gospel. Take everything with a grain of salt because you don't know who you're getting a reading from. You don't know who they are. You don't know if they're actually any good. You don't know where their vibrations are, if they're high or low that day, or if they've been sick and like they're completely off. Like you could be getting a complete garbage reading and you're just like, "Oh my god, she said I'm going to meet my boyfriend Jeffrey in like 3 months and we're having 6 kids and then I'm going to die of cancer in a year." Like if anything it's fun. And it might be like some fun information to see if anything pans out, but always take it with a grain of salt and question everything. And if your gut is saying, I don't know, believe your gut before you believe anything.
All right, to conclude, so you've decided to stop ignoring it, and you're now here. So what do we do now? Do we? So let's look at surrendering to the process.
Mm-hmm.
Start meditating, dream journaling.
Know that not everybody's going to agree with you. That's okay, right? Follow your gut. Follow those promptings that Spirit's giving you. Trust your intuition. Take action, whatever that looks like.
In a community.
Yeah. And most importantly, at the end of the day, just have fun. It's going to be so much fun for you. Have fun with it. Explore. Play with it. And know that it is going to calm down after a couple of years. You're going to mature and ground into this new belief system that you have. And it's going to become just more of a part of daily life. Mm-hmm. So it's really that first year or two that's like, it's so much fun. Kind of like a relationship. The first year is probably all lovey-dovey and flirty.
The
But
bliss
after that,
phase.
the bliss phase. Have fun. Just explore it. And check the show notes for any resources or links that we are going to leave in there. And come back next week. If you have any topics or suggestions, make sure you call in or email us. We'd love to hear from you.
We love and appreciate all of you.
Yeah. Until next time.
Bye.